Hello, my friends. I'm almost done with the full show, but I thought I would just put out this little teaser of a conversation that I had with the great Sam Youngman yesterday. I love Sam. I think he's one of the smartest and funniest people I know. You should subscribe and support his work that he does with Adam Parkhomenko at thealtmedia.com. Sam is a veteran journalist and has covered all kinds of campaigns. He now is a professor of political science at a certain college in California. I'm always glad when Sam stops by. We were live yesterday, and here we are now and coming out with a full show and probably by 7 a.m. But a little teaser with Sam Youngman. You can watch this on youtube.com/standupwithpete. Can't do any of it without your support. Patreon.com/Pete Dominic. Let's do it right now with Sam Youngman. You don't even need me. Why don't you become one of those TikTokers, Sam Youngman, who just is walking and ranting at his phone? You're so good at this. You'd go viral every time. What do you need anybody for?
We all need somebody, Pete, and I need you. I don't know, man. I feel like if I was a TikToker walking around looking at my phone, they'd have me locked up because I would just look like a crazy person screaming into his phone, which I guess I would be.
That's absolutely right. Well, I'm happy to see you. Sam, lots to talk with you about. I'm happy to see you, and I want to know just the latest, your thoughts on reactions to the grilling that the Attorney General got today. Have you ever seen anything like Pam Bondi?
Yes, but I drove away from it really quickly. Or yes, but I flushed it. Look. I mean, it was Pam Bondi doing everything she could to kiss Donald Trump's ass while also trying to pretend to be a serious person. I know a lot of people on social media right now are cheering the Democratic senators for their composure in dealing with Pam Bondi. I know they feel like it was a win to get her to refuse to say whether or not there were pictures of Trump with half-naked girls hanging out with Epstein. I don't agree. This is kind of like the people that told me that, Amy Klobuchar did such a great job with Brett Kavanaugh. I don't agree because I just think we're still playing an old game that doesn't exist anymore. It's a little bit like walking into a WWE professional wrestling event and challenging them to a chess match. I think our senators are still playing for a jury that doesn't exist instead of understanding they now live in a cable news, social media world. I don't know. I would rather see somebody who's not afraid to throw a metaphorical punch than someone who thinks they're winning some rhetorical battle. I didn't find Schiff's questioning all that effective. You know what Pam Bondi's going to do. You know what she is.
Yeah.
Plan for it. Don't be afraid to call her a kiss ass. Oh, you'll get in trouble with the Senate rules? Then get in trouble with the Senate rules. I think I speak for a lot of Democrats when I say we are fucking sick and tired of this Senate club of very wealthy old people who think that Ted Cruz is their friend. I am tired of sending senators to Washington so they can join a club. I want to send them there to fight for us and to fight for what's right. And I think when I look at somebody like Dick Durbin, I'm just like, oh, yeah, if that's our champion, then we've already lost.
So you feel that they're not up for the game. They're not up for the match. These Senate Democrats, when talking to Pam Bondi, should go harder. AOC made a video while knitting saying that we need to mock and ridicule these people, call Stephen Miller 4'10". Is that what you mean?
That's exactly what I mean. I mean, right now, we're still playing like we have control of the Senate or like we can have control of the House. We have nothing. We have nothing, which means we have nothing to lose, which means we should be going balls out, making fun of these people, mocking these people, doing whatever we can to get under their skin and fuck them up and like throw them off course. And instead, we're still playing the same old games that these people don't give a shit about. They just don't care. AOC understands this environment better than maybe any Democrat today. And there you saw her. I mean, they even Laura Ingraham showed the clip of AOC making fun of Stephen Miller, and he was forced to respond to it live. And it very clearly upset him. He tried to play it off. He tried to play cool, but that is not a gear that he has. So yeah, no, I mean, look to younger people for messaging, but also, I don't know. I think I'm falling into a trap when I get mad at Democrats for their messaging, because the reality is Democrats don't have a Fox News. Donald Trump said yesterday that he will talk to DOJ about pardoning a notorious child rapist, and it was barely news. So as long as that's the case, I don't know that messaging matters.
Yeah, I think you just argued effectively with yourself. Because I think that we're playing different games. I think we are playing different games. I think our audiences are different in the way that they react, in the way they behave, how they're motivated, how they're inspired, and so on. And I think that some of us want these old Democrats to just realize what media atmosphere they're living in. And I wish you didn't have to cater to a soundbite or make messages crafted for TikTok or Instagram, but you kind of do. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great if Atticus Finch could tuck his thumbs into his suspenders and pontificate in front of a jury, and they come back and do the right thing, the good and moral thing. But that is a black and white movie from 1,000 fucking years ago. We do not live in that world. We haven't lived in that world since America elected a game show host who attacked the United States Capitol. If people haven't figured out yet that Trump is a made-for-TV creation, and that the rest of his party is focused on professional wrestling antics instead of like actually winning debates or even having debates, then we've already lost. We lost before it even starts. I'm always mindful of this idea that we're the ones on the high road. And that's what I see when I see like this Senate hearing today. It's like, oh, we're the adults. We're the grown-ups. We're the ones who won't punch down. We're the ones who think Pam Bondi is beneath us. And you know what? That's all fucking true. But it doesn't change the fact that you just got a wedgie in front of everybody.
Right.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. Self-awareness, I guess, is not our strong suit. But, man, I don't know how many times we have to take that wedgie before we figure this out.
Let me ask you about the Epstein files and where they are, Sam. No, just the subject is not going away. I thought that would be the case. That is the case. They're trying not to seat this Democratic congresswoman. They've shut down the government. They're doing everything they can to prevent these documents from coming out. But they are coming out, right? Like, do you think? Or do you think the Department of Justice will get the demand from Congress and just say, still, no?
Man, I tell you, I really don't know. I agree with you. I thought that just the Trump chaos machine would be successful in pushing this out of the headlines, out of the news. But I tell you, the way they've gone about covering this up, I've gone from thinking Epstein killed himself to thinking that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein are the same person, like, wearing a wig. I mean, it's astonishing how much worse they've made this situation by covering it up. The old saying was the cover-up's worse than the crime. Well, not in this case. The crime was way fucking worse, but the cover-up is pretty bad. And we learned this week that the Supreme Court's not going to help Republicans with the cover-up. I try to think, like, how would the press have covered it if Obama or Joe Biden had said, I'm going to talk to DOJ about pardoning this notorious child trafficker and rapist. I mean, that would have been a term ending. That would have been a massive scandal in and of its own, in and of itself. That would have ended their administrations. And with Trump, it's barely a blip. I tell you, you've got to give credit to two people who I never thought I would give credit to, Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna. They've done a really tremendous job of keeping this relevant, of keeping this in the news. And the way they've done that is by focusing on the survivors. They've done this by focusing on the victims and making it a point to make sure they're included, that they're being heard. And I'll tell you, it's one of the things that makes the Republican response so damning is not only are they covering up the files, but they're also just refusing to even hear from the victims.
Yesterday, that story, that weird moment in the White House, give Collins credit, could have done even better, I think, when she asked him about the potential pardon of Ghislaine Maxwell, who he wasn't sure. He said, I haven't heard that name in a while. I mean, I'm pretty sure she's living more than anybody else in his head. He thinks about her, what she knows, and what she might say, which is why she's sitting in a new, more comfy prison. Nonetheless, there was the question that was asked, and he seemed to consider that he would, well, obviously, suggested that he would consider pardoning her. Well, guess what? Laura Loomer, who seems to have more power over him than anybody, put out a threat copying him, Pam Bondi, and who else was it? Kash Patel, maybe, I don't know, on a post saying, don't you dare even think about pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell or all bets are off kind of thing. Like, that woman, I can't believe I'm saying it, but Laura Loomer is holding the line on this issue, and I think a lot of other people on the right maybe were acting in good faith when they were demanding to know what was in those files. Thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. Laura Loomer also threatened everybody over Trump accepting a jet from Qatar, and he still did that anyway. So, I mean, look, I've always like I think a lot of people have been freaked out that a lunatic like Laura Loomer has the ear of the president of the United States,
Yeah.
but how influential she is, I really don't know. And if it comes down to Trump saving his own ass over Epstein versus, doing what Laura Loomer tells him to, we know he's going to save his own ass 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10. But I mean, it does sort of speak to how this has become a fault line on the right. I think like the usual suspects, like the Pizzagate freaks, they're happy to move on. They only cared about Epstein and the Epstein victims because they thought it was a chance to smear Bill Clinton. Once it became obvious that their orange daddy's in the files too, they sort of lost interest, and you don't see it quite as much. Hell, I even saw one woman like making excuses and like victim shaming, and it was like, okay, so you never really, I mean, it's like all the QAnon freaks, right? Like the idea that they really care about human trafficking. Their champion is the guy who used to walk in on, teen pageant contestants undressing. They never really cared about this issue. It was always just a political hammer for them.
I think I agree with that. I think I do very much. I feel like I haven't talked to you since Charlie Kirk was assassinated. I don't know.
Is that right?
I think so. And I just wonder where we are at today with that, because I think a lot of people were wrong in their fair predictions that there's going to lead to some really scary, violent consequences kind of immediately. We're certainly not out of the woods. The guy is being still treated like a saint, or the Christian nationalist Martin Luther King. But I do feel like, in a weird kind of way, and I did see a statistic in terms of his name searches are down to like very little compared to obviously their peak shortly after he was assassinated. What do you think of what his death represents and animates on the right in that movement today?
I mean, I'm like you. I was sort of bracing for the immediate aftermath of a lot of shooting back at the perceived enemies of the right. I'm glad that it so far, for the most part, hasn't come to that. I know there have been some instances of violence. I think like a lot of people in the days after Charlie Kirk was murdered, I was sort of flummoxed. I wasn't really sure how to respond. If for no other reason, people were getting fired left and right for sort of, speaking without thinking. And so I took some time and like sort of thought it through. And my takeaway, I really appreciated Ta-Nehisi Coates' take on this, because to me, the one inescapable and undebatable point that he kept making was the people honoring Charlie Kirk are unable to quote him. And to me, that was just such a simple but powerful revelation. Like, if this person was only preaching the word of God, or if this person was only preaching this or that, then it really shouldn't be hard to find all these quotes that you could use. The other thing I would say is this. I keep hearing over and over again what great fucking messengers Republicans are. If that's true, then why are they so easy to take out of context? I mean, we hear all the time what an authentic, honest guy Donald Trump is. And then everybody has to go to the microphones to explain to us what he really meant, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, if he's that fucking clear, if he's that great a communicator, then you don't need to explain it to us. Right. We're not taking anything out of context. The other thing I'd say is this about Charlie Kirk. There were a lot of people, Ezra Klein style, who rushed to sort of clean up that legacy. And I always think the same thing in that instance is like, how would you explain it to your black friends? I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be one person on camera and then another person when I'm hanging out with my friends. Yes. They know I am who I am all the time. Yes. And I'm not going to pretend like somebody wasn't a racist because they died, even if I wish they hadn't died. I mean, it's just the reality of the situation. And the truth of the matter is, I think everybody on that side of things would have been fine agreeing with that right up until they wanted to sort of rewrite history, rewrite a legacy. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was just the graphic nature of the murder. I think that knocked me off balance as much as anything else. Because, I mean, the thing is, like, I don't want to be inhuman. I don't want to be desensitized to violence. And so my core reaction was, yeah, he does have 2 little kids at home. And not only that, but thanks to fucking Elon, Leon, and, the product of a child raping father, you saw that video about 1 million fucking times from 8 different angles, which, remember when that would have been like a scandal and a controversy that we're seeing somebody get murdered live on Twitter? That would, to me, I was just so knocked off balance. by the gruesomeness of the crime. And but also I'm reminded, and I heard this from Mitch McConnell once. He said, you don't always have to fucking say something. And there's a lot of wisdom in that it's okay to take a day or two to think about something before you start talking about it.
Yeah, very well said. I also just appreciated the idea that, we should surround ourselves with people who fight for us in rooms that we're not in. And, there's usually a white guy in the room. So I'm not talking about us but the rest, that's who white people, white men especially, should be thinking about when a woman's not in the room, a person's not in the room. And how would your black friends feel if you were defending Charlie Kirk? I guess one of the main consequences for sure that was widespread is a lot of people did lose their jobs. The Board of Education.
And then some actually got them back because, it was sort of a knee jerk. But as far as I know, Matthew Dowd is still unemployed at MSNBC, where he was fired for simply telling the truth. I tell you, if that's what MSNBC is doing, I'm just shocked that the same network that employs Joe Scarborough, who flew to Florida to kiss Donald Trump's ass, would throw Matthew Dowd under the bus. They're usually people of such great integrity and, and solid news judgment.
And also Karen Attiah of the Washington Post, one of the only black columnists, the only black female columnist, I think. She got fired by the Washington Post, I believe, right?
Yeah. I hope she takes them to the fucking cleaners, because it's pretty obvious what their reasoning was. Yeah, R.I.P. to the Washington Post. What a fucking disgrace. But it's a newspaper of, by, and for rich white people now, and it's just that simple.
What do you make of the government shutdown?
The government shutdown? No, I'm kidding. It's a
wow,
weird thing
you're not fighting for the federal workers who aren't in the room, you fucking elitist prick.
Yeah, no, it's a weird fucking thing to say this, but we're winning. If you can win a shutdown, I would say Democrats, shockingly, are winning. And the reason you can tell is because of just how much Republicans are scrambling. It's interesting. I think the debate from the Democratic side was, should we be making this about Trump sending troops to American cities? Should we be making this about rescissions? Should we be making this about all the different kinds of tyranny we're seeing from this White House? And it took me a couple of days to sort of see the wisdom of Schumer's sort of focus on health care. And you realize that a lot of Senate Democrats are cowards, and they're just looking for a reason to surrender. By making it about health care, I think he gave the policy wonks of the Senate something they could defend, something they could fight for. Whereas I think if you made it all about sort of the umbrella of tyranny, then you'd lose a lot of wimpy Dems, because they're thinking, well, we just did that in 2024 and we lost an election. And so this wouldn't have been the fight that I necessarily would have picked, but I'm grateful to see them staying unified so far. It's really only a matter of, my hope is Schumer can keep them unified and they will hold the line. Because, look at what's happening in Chicago. Look at what's happening in Portland. We shouldn't be funding this shit. We should, look, you want to blame us for a shutdown? Fine. Show me the last election that was decided by voters blaming a party for a government shutdown. You can't, because it just doesn't work that way. So, yeah, I'm grateful it's shut down. I hope we keep it shut down.
Are you insinuating that ICE and federal secret police types that are in these cities won't be able to do what they are doing because they won't be getting paid, or they'll continue to do it and be unpaid in terms of?
No, it's not even that. Like, I don't think we're going to interrupt their illegal operations, but I just don't want us to be on record funding this shit or saying it's okay. Yeah. I keep bringing up Ezra Klein, but he wrote this thing in the New York Times about how none of this is normal. And he's right. None of this is fucking normal. So what do? We use the only fucking tool we have and shut down the government. Now, if it's just about healthcare, fine. Let's fight until we get this healthcare fix. But to me, there's a lot bigger shit going on here. And there's nothing wrong with making it about that.
Some of that bigger shit is, as you mentioned, the invasions by the United States military, federal government into cities who aren't asking for them. It's crazy that you can convince people that to be okay with sending in federal troops when law enforcement, local and state leadership does not want them there. And it's generally their job to tell the National Guard, ask the National Guard when to step up from their day jobs, which all of them have, and help respond to anything from a natural disaster to a terrorist attack or something else. But they're doing it. Portland doesn't want it. Chicago doesn't want it. Oregon and Illinois, California. You've seen it. What do you make of the reaction of activists? You guys were on your channels promoting that amazing video of the inflatable frog protester activist walking the ice back, and it's a great kind of metaphor. But I'm pretty impressed. I'm very impressed with the creativity and the overwhelming nonviolence that we've seen from protesters. What do you make of the fight today as we speak?
Yeah, it's a good reminder that Americans are better than our politicians. Trump was really hoping his stormtroopers would encounter violence in these cities, and instead what they've been met with is peaceful, creative, and hilarious resistance. Talking about the humping frog, which is just the most amazing thing I ever saw. Can I ask, has there ever been anyone more full of shit in the history of the world than the American libertarian? I mean, isn't this the fucking shit they warned us about? Isn't this the whole reason for their being? And suddenly they've gone quiet. It's a good reminder that they were always limp dick racists who just wanted legal weed. So we don't ever have to take them seriously ever again. If we ever did, which, let's be honest, we didn't. No, I am truly horrified when I read about Black Hawk helicopters landing on the roof of American apartment buildings with soldiers rappelling down the building, going door to door, zip tying naked children, and marching them all out into the middle of the night. And that's when they check your papers to see if you're a citizen or not. Fucking country is this?
You're against that.
I am. Yeah, go ahead and put me on record. I know it's a flimsy branch to walk out on, but what the hell are we doing here? Remember the freak out over Jade Helm, which was not even a thing?
Oh, God.
It turns out they're fine with Jade Helm as long as it's not happening to them. No, I'll tell you, the last several years have been just one, so they were totally full of shit revelation about the Republican Party after another.
Yeah.
And this is just, it goes to show you all these small government, don't tread on me losers were just completely full of shit the whole time. They couldn't wait to turn the military against their fellow Americans.
What do you want to say about Stephen Miller and your failure to come up with the nickname Pee Wee German? As far as I can tell, comedian Dana Gould came up with Pee Wee German.
Is that right? Well, Dana's been doing this stuff with a lot more success and for a lot longer than I have, so I'm not surprised. It's a brilliant nickname, and you're right. I fucking hate myself for not coming up with it. You know, it's interesting. I have sort of a blind spot when it comes to Stephen Miller. Like, I have trouble making fun of him because he just creeps me out so fucking much.
Yeah.
You know, it's also one of those things where, like, I watch him and he does that, you know, the sort of turn at an angle, look how serious I am. And it's like, other people can see this too, right? It's like Ben Shapiro's voice, where, like, every time I hear it, I'm like, wait, am I the only one hearing this? This is the guy who's talking about masculinity? Or Rogan? Rogan's 3.5 feet tall, and 2 feet of that are steroids.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, and this is like the masculine leader you've got here. And so every time I look at Stephen Miller, I'm like, that's what you want your fucking kids to be like? That's what you're cheering? I don't know, man. I shit bigger than that guy.
Oh, wow. Have you noticed his physical glitch, too? You're talking about he does this thing with his head that, you're doing a whole body turn. I think he also
sort of turns his, like, shoulders into it. And, maybe one of his shoulders is trying to run away from him. I don't know.
He's always yelling, too. He's always yelling. Speaking of yelling, since you have a hard time making fun of Stephen Miller because of, as you said, could you make fun of Pete Hegseth? Have you seen anything more? I don't know. I think I wrote a post as like, my eyes have never seen anything worse. I've seen a lot of performances on stages, from comedians to TED Talks to political speeches. But what he did in front of all those generals and admirals, I think more than anything else, it was the performer versus the audience, which you don't think as much about. But it was very weird to watch him lecturing all of those guys about places that they had served and he hadn't. It was real weird to hear him talk about American cities as being worse than places in Helmand Province, where certainly many of those guys lost Marines and soldiers. So for that alone, I felt very weird and uncomfortable. What do you make of all that song and dance we saw last week?
I mean, it's like everything they do. It's just so fucking cringe. It's, you're embarrassed. If it wasn't terrifying, it would just be so embarrassing. You'd feel sorry for them. But Hegseth's got a good excuse because he was probably drunk at the time.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think.
No, I'll tell you, he reminds me of Tom Cruise in Magnolia. You remember the over the top like motivational speaker with like the headset and that. I mean, it's just. The thing is, all of these people are performing for one person, and that one person is a senile game show host. And so the performances get more and more ridiculous as they try to keep, stay in the king's good graces. And you finally reach a point where you realize, a former weekend host, not even weekday, a weekend host of Fox News is lecturing the leaders of the greatest military force in the history of the world. And it's like, for most of us, that would be pretty fucking embarrassing. For Pete Hegseth, it's just another day at work.
Really fascinating. Going back to your newsletter, thealtmedia.com, I learned stuff and find stuff that I hadn't seen anywhere else. Is this real? The Brian Glenn posted, "We did not land on the moon."
Yeah.
Brian Glenn is Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend. He's also one of these right-wing Trump TV guys. He's also got access and has been in the Oval Office asking questions of world leaders like Volodymyr Zelensky when he criticized him for not wearing a suit. So he was being serious when he said we didn't land on the moon?
I mean, I don't know how serious he was being. I don't know how serious he's capable of being.
Do you think we landed on the moon?
Oh, absolutely. I think we landed on the moon. And I only say that because I don't want to get punched by Buzz Aldrin.
I was about to ask if you ever saw the video.
Yeah. No, of course we fucking landed on the moon. It was one of the greatest accomplishments of the fucking 20th century for the American people. And the fact that, the thing is, like, every time I started thinking about, like, I wish bad things would happen to Brian Glenn, then I remember he's seen Marjorie Taylor Greene naked, and there's nothing I could come up with that's a worse punishment than that. So that guy's already living in the hell that I would create for him. No, I'll tell you when it really makes my blood boil is when he fucking waddles his ass into the Oval Office and starts coming up. It's torture.
Yeah, it's torture.
It's torturing children to not be game because the parents feel like that's defective. It's sick. It's evil. It's fucking backwards. So, of course, the Supreme Court's fine with it because sick, evil, and backwards is kind of their thing. We use the phrase elections have consequences over and over again, but we just don't think about the children who are going to get abused because of some fucking closeted, self-loathing politician putting their shit on somebody else. This is the kind of thing that really makes me angry. Yeah. This is when the Beltway games and the navel-gazing media and the Trump kiss asses, it's just all a fucking silly sport to them. But to some kid who just wants to be himself or herself or their self, and instead they're going to get fucking beaten or otherwise abused because the Supreme Court said it's okay. That's not politics. This is real life. And I don't know. I wish it was covered like that. I wish it was treated like that.
Well said. Finally, I wanted to ask you about CBS making a deal with Barry Weiss's Free Press for $115 million when apparently the Free Press was worth about $15 million, so they overpaid by $100, but I guess you get the brand. You've followed her career, I'm sure. You guys had some stuff about it in your newsletter. What do you make of Dan Rather, Edward R. Murrow's 60 Minutes, and Walter Cronkite's Network bringing on all Barry Weiss?
Yeah. Calling it a career is charitable, right? I mean, she's mostly just whined and complained her way from one big paycheck to another. I interviewed Walter Cronkite about this, and all he would say is, "Let me out of this box." Sorry, I'm sorry. I wanted to lighten it up a little bit.
Who else did you interview lately? Jesus. I interviewed Pete Davidson's dad. He seemed pretty upset about Pete Davidson performing in Saudi Arabia if we're interviewing dead people.
Yeah, they're not having a catch anymore. Fuck Pete Davidson though, man. What a scummy thing to do. No, man, look. CBS was once the pinnacle, but it hasn't been in a long time, and we should be honest about that. I mean, CBS is the same network that hired Catherine Herridge from Fox News, who then went on to launder all of Sidney Powell's bullshit in defense of Mike Flynn. CBS has been pulling this shit for a while, but now they're just getting very blatant about it. It's interesting because, like, my first reaction to the Barry Weiss news wasn't to be angry. It wasn't to even be sad about the state of CBS. It was more to just say, oh, I'm sure this will end well. Because what happens when you put people in jobs like this that they don't have the experience or the qualifications for? It usually goes really fucking badly. Barry Weiss has never been a reporter. She doesn't know anything about the actual news business. She's an opinion writer, and not a very good one. And what she's very good at is finding opinion writers like herself who are good at coddling the nutsacks of billionaires. And I'm sure you'll never go broke doing that, but I also don't think you can run a news organization doing that.
That was rough. The coddling the nutsacks thing was hard for me because I immediately visualized, like, it's rough.
Yeah, sorry about that. I do tend to paint a picture.
Finally, just want to say thank you. TheAltMedia.com is so good.
Oh, dude. I have such a blast doing your show. I'm so sorry it took me a few days. Things were a little crazy. But no, man, this is so much fun.
Well,
I love the show.
I invited you last week and I didn't hear back from you, so I sent a sharply worded email as opposed to a text where I feel more safe and casual with you. But then I went professional email and it was sharply worded.
It's like when your parent uses all three names. It's like, uh-oh, I fucked up. Like, he's gone from text to email. That means I'm in trouble. No, I can't even say I was out surfing and goofing around like I wish I could. I was actually working, so I'm sorry.
You are an American treasure. You're a great commentator, and I love talking to you and reading you over at the Alt Media. Go subscribe right now. You are the best, sir. I appreciate you joining me. I'm going to say goodbye now to everybody.
Thanks so much, man. Really appreciate you. Love you.
Stand up.
All right, there he goes, Sam Youngman. The great. Go follow and support him at thealtmedia.com and support me at patreon.com/Pete Dominic. All right, part 2 of today's episode, the full episode, I should say, is coming next, but I wanted to get this out and posted for you because, well, I just thought I could. All right, that's it for now, and I will be back in a couple of hours with another post with the great Jeff Jarvis coming up. Have a good one. Talk to you in a little while.